Complete lack of effort from the Boston Celtics. It cost them the game against the Atlanta Hawks, but let's be honest. They had this coming, didn't they? It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Deuce, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and Jace, how we started, raising business, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play on the weekend like they play on Saturday night. So I'll have a bonus podcast for you then. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about this. Ugh, gross loss to the Atlanta Hawks, 117-116. Complete lack of effort. We'll talk about that, the offensive rebounds, the turnovers, the paint points, field goal disparity, and later on, why this proves the Celtics do not care about this Emirates Cup. That's all coming up. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet. You'll get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hey, I'm John Karalis. I am a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal, covering the team for about 20 years now. Also the author of Built Different, one of 2 books available on johnkaralis.com that I've written. $30 a piece, sent out to your door anywhere in the United States. $30 signed, personalized, all of that stuff. All right, let's just start here. Lack of effort. The number one overarching storyline for the Celtics in this game, complete lack of effort. Complete just not taking the Hawks seriously. The Hawks didn't have Trae Young. They didn't have a bunch of other guys. But I don't know why the Celtics don't understand that the Hawks are better without Trae Young, that this is the 3rd straight game the Celtics have faced the Hawks without Trae Young and lost. This is, if there's ever a big warning signal, big red flag, right? Take this shirt, this sweater that I'm wearing, and wave it in front of them in the locker room. Red flag. You lose to the Hawks without Trae Young. They are better against the Celtics, at least, without Trae Young, because they can play guys that can switch and guys with some size, and they can do some things without feeling like you have to play Trae Young, who, yeah, I know, big time offensive player. I get it. But the Celtics crush him, attack him over and over and over again. When he's not there, they can actually put a team out there that competes with the Boston Celtics. And we saw it when the Celtics tried to switch. They just buried Derek White with Onyeka Okongwu down the stretch, 4th quarter. They did it twice where Okongwu scored. They did it once more, and Derek tried to front Okongwu, and instead of getting the pass, he was in position for the tip-in. That was the game-winning tip-in. So that was not ideal for the Celtics. Clint Capella did the same thing. They attacked the Celtics guards. They went over and over and over with their size against the guards, and when the Celtics switched, they just punished it. And when Trae Young is in the game, it's a different animal. So this should have been, instead of a lack of effort, as Jaylen Brown said after the game, we came out expecting to win. They thought they had the win just in the bag. And not like they came out expecting to win. We thought we had the win before the game even started. Can't do that. Can't do that in the NBA in general. And the Celtics, let's be honest, they had it coming. It's the 3rd straight game. Joe Mazzulla, we know that he likes to let his team play through stretches where they're struggling a little bit. He's not Mr., run out of timeouts. He very rarely, I can't even remember where he's run out of timeouts. Whenever he's out of timeouts, it's like end of game situations, and he saved the 2, and it's just okay. Like when I'm saying run out of timeouts, like it's 2 minutes left and they've already used them all. You know what I mean? He always has timeouts when he needs them. So because he wants to save them. He doesn't want to just blow them early. Anyway, 3 straight games where he has called an early one in the first few minutes of the game. Because last 2 games, 16-2 runs. This game was not a 16-2 run, but if the Hawks were any good, it could have been. The Hawks were missing a bunch of shots early. Both teams started completely slow, but the Celtics very easily could have been down much more. They could have been down big throughout this entire game if the Hawks had hit shots. And it looked like the Celtics had this thing kind of like starting to put it away. They had a 15-point lead in the third quarter. It started to seem like the story of this game is going to be like slow start again. Yeah, we got to fix that, blah, blah, blah. But they pulled away because the Celtics are good and the Hawks are bad, especially without everybody there. And good team beats bad team. And eventually it's a 20-point win. But as Jayson Tatum said after the game, we let go of the rope. We just let go of the rope. They allowed offensive rebounds and they committed turnovers. 20 of each. 20 offensive rebounds allowed. That is absolute lunacy. They were out-rebounded 45-34, but the Celtics actually had more defensive rebounds, 28-25. They allowed 20 offensive rebounds. It's incredible. 6 to Clint Capella, 5 to Zach Researche, 3 to Jaylen Johnson, 4 to Onyeka Okongwu. That piles up. 2 to Larry Nance. So it wasn't even like, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, right. 6 to Clint Capella, 5 to Researche. Yeah, right. And so it's not like a bunch of guys. They played 9 guys. It's not like everybody got like 2 or 3. They were just getting pounded. And the Celtics did not, they had 6. They lost the margins all over the place. The turnovers, 20 turnovers for 19 points. The Celtics, by giving up those offensive rebounds and turnovers, they gave up the advantages that they had across the board. They beat the Atlanta Hawks by 24 at the 3-point line. The Celtics were 18 of 45. They shot 40%. Boston shooting 40% from 3 and losing is almost impossible. They were 18 for 45 from the 3-point line. The Hawks were 10 of 32. That is a disparity that should be a runaway winner. The Celtics were 22 of 27 from the line. The Hawks were 7 of 13. So a 15-point differential at the free throw line, a 24-point differential from the 3-point line. 39 points you outscored them by. But because they gave up so many offensive rebounds and turnovers, that led to 12 more made field goals and an 80-40 advantage from 2. So that 39-point advantage that they had from 3 in the free throw line gets completely negated by the 2-pointers. And almost all of those were points in the paint. Let's talk about that. We'll talk about the field goal disparity, a little bit more of that, and some of the other stuff from this game, all coming up when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and you can get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel because right now new customers get if you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $50 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Make sure that you're using the tools that are available to you. Set your budget, set your limit, gamble responsibly at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make sure you are subscribed to our new newsletter. That's right. Locked On Celtics has a daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Celtics newsletter. So I just talked about the 2-pointers that the Celtics got blasted on, 80-40. 68 points in the paint allowed. 34-54 shooting. The Celtics, they allowed 54 shots in the paint. The Celtics took 75 shots overall. So the points in the paint is just an outrageous problem. The Celtics are 24th in the league in points in the paint. They allow the 6th most points in the paint at 52. And even with that number, they allowed 68. They just were lazy with their box outs. They're lazy getting to just putting a body on somebody, turning and looking, not just turning and looking, but having a hand on a guy and then just ignoring him. You're right there. Very simple to box out a guy. You put your hand on him. Your hands are your eyes, right? You can box out by feel. All you got to do is put just a touch on that person and then turn and just feel that person. Where is he going? And you can kind of slide in that direction. But teams in the NBA, like boxing out is not like a college skill in the NBA. It's one of the things that gets sacrificed because of the 82 game season. You're not seeing a ton of box outs. But at the same time, if you're guarding somebody, you got to at least make a token effort. And the Celtics didn't even do that. So allowing the tip-ins, the putbacks is how you get to 68 points in the paint. You're just never going to win allowing that many points in the paint. How can you possibly – the Celtics put up 45 three-pointers, and they allowed 54 shot attempts in the paint. And now the math starts to like, okay, the Celtics hit 40% of their three-pointers. The Hawks hit 60+% of their points, their paint attempts. The math now, it's out of whack. You've allowed so many clean looks, so many easy runs to the rim, layups, just blow-bys and not contesting at the rim, and then the putbacks. If Joe Mazzulla is looking at the math and you say, well, we're putting up the three-pointers, we'll live with some of these two-pointers, but the two-pointers have to be at, if you're shooting 40% from three, think about 40%, that's 40 out of 100, right? So you're putting up 120 points at 40%. So if you're taking 100, right? So 40% is 40 out of 100, 40 times 3 is 120. Now, if the other team is hitting 63% of their twos, that's 126. You're losing the math. The 2-point percentage has to be somewhere down below so the 3 is greater than 2 thing works out. I know I'm not great at math, but I can figure that much out. You can live trading threes for twos, but you can't do it allowing them to be this easy, because now the Celtics, to beat the Hawks, they had to shoot 42%, 44%, 45%. And Jayson Tatum had a three-pointer halfway down, corner three-pointer. They finally generated a good one. They got that one. It was great. I'm glad it didn't fall. I'm glad because they didn't deserve to win this game. If they had escaped with this one, I feel like it wouldn't have hit the same way. The field goal disparity is a big deal. They allowed 100 shots. That's where I want the Celtics to be. 100 shots is absolute. That's beautiful. They allowed 50 of 100 shots. They allowed 50 made field goals. The Celtics only took 75. So again, the Celtics had more three-pointers, had more free throws. They actually shot a better percentage, 50.7% to Atlanta's 50%. So they shot better from the field. They shot much better from three. They shot better from the line and had significant advantages from three and from the line. But because they turned the ball over so damn much, 19 points off of 20 turnovers, and because they allowed so many offensive rebounds, that the sheer volume, and how many times have I talked about that already this season, that the Celtics putting up the volume is how they're able to get some of these wins, even when they're not shooting great. The volume from the Hawks did just enough to beat them. They lost this by 1 point. All they would have needed was a tiny, minuscule amount of effort, consistent effort. And after the game, Jaylen Brown said, "We can't make this a habit." When I say they had this coming, it's 2 straight games with slow starts that they recovered from. And now a slow start that lingered into the third quarter. They had one good real run, and then they let go and they stopped trying again. This is not a big deal, right? This is not, in the grand scheme of things, this loss, who cares? In a vacuum, who cares? It's November 12th loss to the Hawks. In March, we're going to go back and be like, what game did they lose? Oh yeah, I remember that game. It was the Emirates Cup game that they lost, and we'll forget all about it. Except, remember I said in the last podcast where I said, "Oh, the slow starts are just annoying, like those little bugs, just a little annoyance." But now it's starting to be like, all right, these bugs are starting to bite. All right, these aren't little bugs now; they're mosquitoes. And now I'm starting to be like, oh god, this is really starting to get annoying here. The mosquitoes are starting to really bite out here, and what we don't want is for it to be like bees, like the killer bees out there that just all of a sudden just keep stinging you. And now it becomes a problem. You don't want it to graduate to that. I think we got what do we got? Like mosquitoes and like horse flies, and then like regular bees, and then those killer bees. There's still a few stages to get to the part where it's like, oh, this is a real problem. But right now it's just gotten like annoying. 3 games in a row where Joe has had to call that early timeout. The Celtics need to just remember that last season they didn't have a lot of these stretches. They didn't have a lot of this. They knew that they focused on themselves. They focused on their offense. Do what you do best, and the rest will take care of itself. They didn't worry about who they were playing. They didn't worry about who was in or out. They had a couple of stinkers, so it's not a big deal. It really is not a big deal. But when there is this egregious, like this was entirely I do not want to disrespect the Hawks, but the Celtics gave this away. This was entirely their own, under their own control. They allowed the Hawks to feel confident. They allowed the Hawks to feel like they could pull this out. They just didn't seem to care. And it's going to happen. Just they can't keep letting it happen. That's the only thing. It's the only thing. I'm not sitting here saying I'm concerned. I'm not sitting there saying I'm like, oh my God, this is the championship hangover, whatever. Maybe you need a little wake-up call. Maybe you need to remember, hey, there's a formula here, and that formula includes trying. So, no, I mean, the Celtics can erase this very simply by going to Brooklyn Wednesday night and playing strong. Don't fall behind early. Play a strong game. Okay, maybe Brooklyn still wins that game. I don't know. But at least try. Box out. Take care of the ball. Do that stuff, you'll be fine. Right? But what we don't want is the disparity. We don't want the habits. We don't want them to just be like, this is okay. We don't want them to be okay with what we saw in this game. It's okay that it happened, but they can't be okay with it. This shows that the Celtics do not care about the Emirates Cup. I'll explain that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere in between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you never have to worry about gotchas again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month, when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. So say bye-bye to overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. Bring your phone number over along with your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower, above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. We got Locked On NBA game nights, plus the regular Locked On NBA show, which is now in the middle of the afternoon. 2 Locked On NBAs. I'm on the Friday night version. After those games are over Thursday night, Friday, you will get a podcast from me and Jake Madison covering that night in the NBA. So check out the Locked On NBA feed. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Funny moment at the end of the second quarter where, the end of the second quarter where the Celtics had 1.1 seconds left. Of course, Joe Mazzulla subs in Peyton Pritchard. And the crowd, which was dead, had no reason to cheer. The crowd was dead. That building was quiet. It was not the Celtics performance did not inspire a great atmosphere. But in comes Peyton Pritchard and the whole building stands up. It's so funny to see this anticipation because everybody's like, oh my God, it could be happening again. The Hawks ended up taking it away, and the inbound went to Jaylen Brown, and you could hear the whole crowd go, oh, just as Jaylen Brown caught it. It's incredible to me that in any situation, An inbounds pass to Jaylen Brown before he even does anything gets in. Oh, he ended up getting fouled and making the free throws, or one of the free throws, but it was incredible to see that moment. So that was fun. But the Celtics, this game to me tells me that they really don't care about this Emirates NBA Cup. They don't care. We talked a little bit about it yesterday where it was like, there were some videos out there. They were kind of like talking about like, oh, they weren't like taking it very seriously. I don't think the Celtics, despite what they may say publicly, I don't think they take it very seriously. And to me, this proves that they don't take it seriously, because if you did, then they would have said, hey guys, they're shorthanded. Point differential matters. So let's go out there and start strong and build up a lead and not give it up. Missoula played Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum the entire first quarter. That was an opportunity for both of those guys to start really piling on some points. They couldn't do it. If the Celtics really cared about this, they would have boxed out. If they really cared about this, they wouldn't have been so lazy with their turnovers, right? The turnovers were so bad. They were just simple inbounds passes, trying to lob it over the top of tall, athletic guys. Just unbelievable how lazy those were. If they cared about the NBA Cup, they would have come out with a focus in this game. They would have come out and treated it like something more than an early November regular season game between a bad team that's shorthanded and a good team that's just lazily thinking, we got it. Now, there's good teams are going to lose to these bad teams from time to time. Again, I got to stress, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. As long as they don't let it become a big deal. If this becomes a pattern, if they continue to do this, problem. That's a problem. But right now, not a big deal. It's more of an annoyance at this point. But if they cared about this Emirates NBA Cup, they would have come out with a focus from the beginning. They would have come out on a run. They would have come out and started faster. They would have played stronger defense. They would have understood, like we were talking about yesterday. Point differential matters, so this is your opportunity. What a great chance. In a tournament where point differential matters, you've got the Hawks who are struggling with injuries and very easily could start falling apart if you put some pressure on them. Just come out, hit them with the defense, get out in transition, and watch them fall apart and build your lead 10, 20, 30, 40. Should have done that if they cared about the NBA Cup. But the Celtics don't. They don't care. They don't care about going to Las Vegas, although they might want to go to Las Vegas. It'd be nice to get out of Boston for a week, second week in December, starting to get cold. Yeah, let's go to Vegas for a little bit. It's nicer over there. Who doesn't like Vegas? I'd love to go to Vegas. I'm dying to go there for this thing. But that's, unless you guys want a free trip to Vegas, and the potential, by the way, to make like $500,000. I know some guys that doesn't mean anything, but there are a couple guys on that team that'd be like, hey, you guys, that's $500,000. That's $500,000 that I could use. But they don't care. This team does not care about that. This, to me, just proves it. So if they're not going to care, why should we care? And, the NBA, I don't know how they're going to treat this, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in the NBA front office made some kind of comment to somebody in Boston and be like, hey, how could your guys give that kind of effort in a game that we're trying to push and take seriously? Like, it won't be Adam Silver to Brad Stevens, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in the league office somewhere said something to somebody. Be like, hey, what was that? Come on, guys. We're trying to put this thing. It's not going away. It's not going away. So you guys are the champs. That's a game you should have won. You had many opportunities. And I'm not just saying this is a game you should have won because you're better than the Hawks. There are many opportunities in that game that turnovers or offensive rebounds, if those were just prevented, the preventable ones, the ones you can control, if you just controlled those, it would have been a double-digit halftime lead easily. Third quarter would have been history, right? That could have been a 30-point game going into the fourth quarter just by controlling the controllables. So, again, these games happen. Good teams lose to bad teams. Happens all the time. It's not the biggest deal in the world. Just don't let it become a big deal. But to have it happen in the NBA Cup, league can't be happy. Whatever. Moving on to Brooklyn. Very easy for them to wash this taste out of our mouths by playing well in Brooklyn. It'll be a tough game. Probably won't be any Al Horford because back-to-back, but we'll see. Tatum with the ankle said it was tender. If he wasn't ready to play, if the ankle was a problem, he shouldn't have played. We'll see how that is against Brooklyn. I'll be back after the Brooklyn game. Hopefully it's a much different story. That's tomorrow. Make sure you're subscribed. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. What's your opinion of this game? Am I being too hard on them? Am I not being hard enough on them? Let me know in the comment section. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast and told everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.